Introduction to I/O Psychology, Part 1. Industrial Organization Psychology. At all levels of modern organizational life, I/O Psychology provides essential services to everyone. Psychology as applied to the world of work serves to masters the individual and the organization. It cannot benefit one without benefiting the others. Do employees truly love their job? Wouldn't it be wonderful if all employees loved their jobs so much that they are excited to get to work each day? Would it lead to an outstanding performance giving benefits both for the employer and employee? Well, it is the ultimate goal of the I/O Psychology, the field of I/O Psychology. Differences between I/O and business programs. Industrial Organizational is a branch of I/O Psychology that applies the principles of psychology to the workplace. Their purpose of I/O Psychology is to enhance the dignity and performance of human beings and the organizations they work in by advancing the science and knowledge of human behavior. Ruchi 2008. The principles of learning are used to develop training programs and incentive plans. Principles of social psychology are used to form group works and understand employee conflict, and principles of motivation and emotion are used to motivate and satisfy employees. The application of psychological principles is what best distinguishes I/O Psychology from related fields, typically taught in business courses. Functions and goals of I/O Psychology. Major fields of I/O Psychology. The goal of the I/O Psychology is to increase the productivity and well-being of the employees. Let us first dissert the two interconnected words. The I in I/O stands for industrial approach, and it focuses on determining the competencies needed to perform a job. Staffing, training. The O stands for organizational approach and focuses on creating organizational structure and culture that will motivate the employees to perform well by giving them the necessary information to do their jobs and provide working conditions that are safe, resulting to enjoyable, satisfying work, a life environment. Personnel psychology. I/O psychologists and HR professionals involved in personnel psychology study and practice in such areas. 1. Analyzing jobs. 2. Recruiting applicants through existing tests or newly created ones. 3. Selecting employees. 4. Determining salary levels. 5. Training employees. 6. Evaluating employees' performance. Organizational psychology. Psychologists involved in organizational psychology are concerned with the issues of 1. Leadership. 2. Job satisfaction. 3. Employee motivation. 4. Organizational communication. 5. Conflict management. 6. Group processes. Human factors ergonomics. Psychologists in this field concentrate on workplace design, human-to-machine interaction, ergonomics, physical fatigue, and stress. Psychologists in this area frequently work with engineers and other technical professionals to make the workplace safer and more efficient. Sample activities in this subfield. 1. Drawing map in an optimal way. 2. Designing comfortable chair. 3. Designing an optimal schedule. Brief history of I/O. Regardless of the official starting date, I/O Psychology was born in the early 1900s. 1903, Walter Dill Scott wrote The Theory of Advertising, in which psychology was first applied to business. 1910, Hugo Munsterberg wrote Psychology and Industrial Efficiency, which was first published in English in 1913. Interestingly, the term industrial psychology was seldom used prior to business psychology, and EMPLOYMENTPSYCHOLOGY. IO psychology made its first impact during World War I. IO psychology were employed to test recruits and then place soldiers within the armed forces in appropriate positions. The testing was accomplished mainly through the Army Alpha and Army Beta tests of mental ability. Army Alpha for applicants who could read. Army Beta for applicants who could not read. John B. Watson, pioneer of behaviorism, served as a major in the U.S. Army in World War I. He developed perceptual and motor tests for potential pilots. IO psychologists, along with engineers such as Henry Gatt, were responsible for increasing the efficiencies of cargo ships. Though he is not an IO psychologist, inventor Thomas Edison understood the importance of selecting the right employees. In 1920, Edison created a 163-item knowledge that he administered to over 900 applicants. Two of the most interesting figures in the early years of IO psychology were the husband and wife team of Frank Gilbreth and Lillian Mahler Gilbreth. The Gilbreths were among the first, if not the first, scientists to improve productivity and reduce fatigue by studying the motions used by workers. 1930s findings from the famous Hawthorne studies were published. Psychologists became more involved in the quality of work environment as well as the attitudes of employees. It was initially designed to investigate such issues as the effects of lighting levels, work schedules, wages, temperature, and rest breaks on employee performance. Hawthorne effect, a phenomenon where employees change their behavior, became more productive due solely to the fact that they are being observed or receiving attention from their managers. Perhaps the major contribution of the Hawthorne studies was that it inspired psychologists to increase their focus on human relations in the workplace and to explore the effects of employee attitudes. IO psychologists who work in consulting firms help a variety of organizations productive by helping them select a high-quality and diverse workforce, designing systems that will motivate employees while treating them fairly, training employees, and ensuring that organizations treat applicants and employees in a legal and ethical manner. IO psychologists who works in the private and public sector perform similar duties as consultants, but they do see in very different environments, educational requirements, and types of programs. Although people with bachelor's degree can find employment in the HRM field, having a master's or doctoral degree certainly increases employment and career opportunities. Master's degree takes between 1 or 2 years after the completion of a bachelor's degree. Admission requirements vary greatly school to school. Types of graduate programs. Master's degree programs come in two varieties, those that are part of Ph.D. program and those that terminate at the master's degree. School with terminal degree programs do not have Ph.D. programs, and a master's degree is the highest that can be earned at such schools. Research in IO psychology. Now that you have a good idea about the field of IO psychology, it is time to learn the essentials of one of the foundations of the upcoming chapters, research. Why conduct research? Though most of you will not go on to careers as researchers, understanding research and statistics is important for the following reasons. 1. Answering questions and making decisions. As mentioned earlier in the chapter, one of the characteristics of IO psychology is its extensive use of research and statistics. Research saves organizations money. If IO psychologists are not able to save the company considerably more money than it pays for their salary and expenses, they will be without a job. These monetary savings can result from many factors, including increased employee satisfaction, increased productivity, and fewer accidents. For many years, organizations relied on the employment interview as the main method for selecting employees. But researchers have shown that the unstructured employment interview is not the best predictor of future behavior on the job. Thus, without research, an organization might still be spending money on a method that actually lowers its profits rather than raises them. Research and everyday life. We encounter research in everything and daily basis. As a student, you will definitely encounter research throughout this and other courses. Understanding research helps you to critically listen and analyze results of these studies to make more intelligent decisions. You tend to believe in a statement with a supporting research. It helps us to identify what is the truth behind the words we hear or we see. The fact is, intelligent people actually use such research to support their point. Underscores the importance of understandingresearch. Now, the question is, are you intelligent enough to believe such news you hear, see, or read, or are you just a dual person goes with the flow just to identify yourself as informed? Common sense is often wrong. Are you a flat earth or are you thinking the world is round? Often there is a temptation not to conduct research because the answer to a question is common sense. Unfortunately, common sense is not so common and often wrong. It was a common sense before that the world was flat and that a person sailing toward the horizon would fall off the earth. In the 20th century, common sense said that women employees could not perform as well as men. In other words, common sense has been and can be wrong. As a good example, imagine taking a multiple choice test. Most students respond with what they have always been told. Stick with your first answer. If you stuck with this piece of common advice, you would probably miss the right answer. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and stay tuned in part 2.